Chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
It's Wrexham.
He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Foden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Trundle for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. What a chance! What a goal! What a goal from Al Robson Carnham! Folks, good wicket kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wanagate, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
And here's Mendy! There's that race-class roar again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast, one of those recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. No Daz this week as he's away up north doing missionary work, wink wink, but in a week when a French teen is facing mischief and public nuisance charges in Singapore after posting a video on social media of himself licking a straw from an orange juice vending machine, then putting it back. Didier Gaspard Owen Maximilian, 18, was charged and hasn't entered a plea as yet, with the state's largest English newspaper, the Straits Times, saying that he allegedly committed the offence at a shopping mall on the 12th of March, and his video spread rapidly when it surfaced, the report said. Mischief carries a penalty of up to 2 years in prison, or a fine, or both, while public nuisance is less severe with up to 3 months in prison or a fine or both. Ooze, the company operating the juice vending machine, filed a police report and sanitised the dispenser while replacing all 500 straws in the machine. It said it would upgrade its machines to include measures such as individually packed straws and a straw compartments that only unlock after a transaction is completed. Well, all I can say, it's a good job this isn't a worldwide law, because I'll tell you something, this lad has licked some horrendous things in his time. It's Jamie!
And put them back.
Exactly. Yeah, hello, mate. We're back.
All right.
After a
We're
week
back. I don't know what day of the week it is.
I take a cruise, I lick a rat's nest, and then I have to live in the house for 3 months. I don't have hantavirus, by the way. Before anybody asks, it's not hantavirus. I had a bacterial chest infection.
Nice.
Not nice at all. No. Yes, but it wasn't nice. But anyway, we're back now. That's the main thing. A bit late to the party. We'll talk in a bit about I don't know about you. I haven't got over it yet.
I don't know. It's interesting you say that, really, because I'm quite chilled about it. But like you say, we'll come to it in a minute.
We'll come to it in a minute. But obviously, as I've said, Daz is not here today, but he has sent us some messages. So, from the wild, wild west, or north, or south, or east. Hello, Daz.
Hey guys, sorry I can't be with you properly, so sending this footage. Yeah, work got away from me this week. I've been in Leeds, I've been in Manchester and Salford and stuff like that, so still very, very busy this week. So I'm not going to get back in time for recording, and so I'm not going to be there for a really important session. And the reason for that is that you might be able to hear behind me certain cops being built at the moment. It's quite noisy, at least like they're getting the job done, guys. So it'll be interesting to see how this comes along. But yeah, so my work is taking me to Wrexham as well. So here I am in Wrexham, and and not on the pod. Feels a bit weird. Anyway, I'll send more messages shortly. Very busy here.
That's looking good, isn't it, Jamie?
Wow,
Fair
who
dues.
let him in? Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, I've not been to Wrexham. It's a Middlesbrough game, I don't think, so I've not seen it for a couple of weeks. And out of principle, I've not watched any of the drone videos for obvious reasons this week. So that was interesting seeing that, to be fair. So yeah, I mean, we always said, didn't we, as soon as they started putting steel up, it'd fly up, and it does look like it's flying up. So yeah, happy days.
It is absolutely springing up to the least. Couple of things worth a bit of a nod. Interesting on the playoff debate and debacle that's going on at the moment, which has really escalated today. So obviously, as we'll talk about in a sec, we didn't get through, but Middlesbrough and Hull and Southampton and Millwall did manage to get through. And then before the first Middlesbrough game, of course, there was rumours that Southampton had been spying on Middlesbrough training ground. Since then, the evidence has all come out. An intern has been there's photographic evidence of them being there, taking videos, taking pictures. And I just thought, this is just blow over over. But the EFL have come out today. They've stopped all ticket sales for fans and have basically said, listen, it will go ahead, but it might not go ahead on the day you're expecting, and it might not be the two teams you're expecting either. I mean, Jamie, is this a storm in a teacup, or do you think there's some legitimate peril for Southampton that they might actually get thrown out here?
It's happened before, hasn't it? You know, Leeds were caught doing it, weren't they, and got a big fine, but nothing more than that. Look, it is shithousery. It is shithousery because it's unnecessary. But I do feel it has been blown a little bit out of proportion. It's been quite funny to see the kind of fallout, and it was. I did think it was quite comical on the second leg at St Mary's when you had some of the fans dressed up in camo in the stadium, which was quite funny. I mean, you know, look, you've got to ask yourself the question. At this stage of the season, they've got 46 games worth of footage that they could watch to analyse, you know, playing patterns and things like that. I'm not trying to condone it because it's bang out of order and it's wrong, full stop. But it does feel like a massive storm in a teacup, to be honest with you. And I'd be flabbergasted if they get kicked out of the playoffs or get any kind of points deduction that push them out of the playoffs, because the ripple effect from that would be huge. You know, a financial fine is what I would expect, but who knows? Like you say, it doesn't seem to want to go away, and it's but it just a bit of nonsense, really, nonsense, crazy.
I wonder if they spied on us, and if they did, what the hell did they manage to learn?
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, let's be brutally honest. What are you going to learn from watching a training session for a relatively short period of time? Because there's no way you would have been standing there for, you know, every minute of the training session for multiple days. You know, are you really going to learn something that's going to give you that much of an advantage on the game? And I mean, I watched the two games, to be fair, and in all honesty, you know, they were two good games. I know, you know, the first one was 0-0. The second one, I did feel a bit for Middlesbrough, really, because they, you know, not because of this, but, you know, over the course of the two games, I thought they played well, but Southampton's quality came through. You know, we talked about it when they beat us. Really good side. But yeah, this will, whatever happens from this will stick with them. I think if they stay in the Championship for one way or another, I think this will stick with them, and I think they'll you know, it'll take some shaking off. I suppose the good thing for us is that it means that somebody hates another team in the Championship more than us.
I was going to say we've probably been moved down the pecking order by one, which is great. Congratulations, though, to Hull, who managed to beat Millwall. Again, this shows perfectly why the playoffs are such a minefield, because Millwall were on the verge on that last day of getting automatic promotion. And now they'll be in the Championship with us next year.
So when we watched the games, I had this conversation with my wife, and I said to her, this is exactly what, like you say, congratulations to Hull. No sour grapes at all. You know, I think when you consider the off the field rigmarole they've had to deal with this year, what they've achieved is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
You have to tip your hat to that. So no sour grapes whatsoever. But I said to the wife after the game, and this is not because I like Millwall either, but I said, there is an example of why I don't like the playoffs. Me personally, if you're successful in the playoffs, it's amazing. If you lose in the playoffs, it's heartbreaking. But the thing for me, which has never sat well with me with the playoffs, and I've said this before, is if you look at, last year was the worst example with Sheffield United, but you look at this season, Millwall finished third after a slog 46-game, 9-month season. And yet now, a team that's finished 3 places below them has got an opportunity to get promoted. And that's great for Hull, and playoffs they're there, and that's what they are. But that's a great example why I don't personally like playoffs. I would rather it just be, if 3 are going up, it's 1, 2, 3, end the season, go on holiday and come back next season. But obviously I appreciate that they've been great to watch from a neutral perspective. Oh yeah, it's money. Yeah. They've been great. They've been great to watch from a neutral perspective. And don't get me wrong, over the years there've been some phenomenal ones. I think back to that Leicester Watford one where Troy Deeney scores that goal. Scenes like that are just amazing. But playoffs are only good if you win. If you don't win in the playoffs, and ultimately 3 teams are not going to win, it's a horrible way to end the season. Horrible way to end the season, and really, really shit for somebody who's finished. I don't know how many points Millwall finished above Hull in the end, but it would have been a few, I'm sure. But that's just my opinion.
And obviously, looking at, we will go much more in depth next season in a few months' time as the season gets closer. But obviously, we know Wolves and Burnley are definitely joining. West Ham and Tottenham are still fighting. There's 2 games left to go, and either one of those could come down. Of West Ham and Tottenham, who would you like? Who would you like us to take on next season?
Just purely from a selfish point of view, because it's a stadium I'd love to go to, is the Tottenham Stadium. But I have to be honest, I do watch a lot of Premiership football, and I've watched quite a few games recently and stuff, and I do feel that Tottenham are just going to sneak out of it, and I think it'll be West Ham that go. Either of those 2 going down is monumental, really.
Well, the one to watch out for next season then would be West Ham Millwall, because they absolutely hate each other with a passion that knows no bounds. Plus, obviously, we will have Swansea versus Cardiff, the South Wales derby back, which always is full of vitriol. Obviously, Cardiff and Lincoln City both coming up. Looks like definitely Stockport, or at the moment Bolton Wanderers, because Bolton are beating Bradford. Stockport or Bolton? Which one of those would you like? Because Stockport, that's a blast from the past. That one.
I think, look, I suppose if I'm being fair, the best team, whoever the best team is. But personally, I don't want Stockport to come up. I don't want the rigmarole of having to deal with that again. That faux rivalry that was created. It was just a nonsense. But look, whoever gets it will deserve it. I haven't watched the League One playoffs as closely as I watched the Championship ones for different reasons. But it would have been nice for Bradford, because obviously that would have been back to back, wouldn't it, for them, because they got promoted last year. But Bolton. I've got a sneaky feeling about Stockport, I'll be honest, just because I think they've been knocking on the door for a little bit. They were on the same sort of trajectory as us, weren't they, for a while, and overtook us, and then we overtook them. And look, whoever it is, I think, like you just said, if you look at some of the games which are potentially coming up next season, there's going to, it makes for another exciting Championship next season. There's been a great season this year, but it's looking even exciting again next year.
And it would fit in with your thing, because Stockport came third. So if Stockport got through, then you would have your 1, 2, 3 going up, which would fit quite nicely. Another thing, obviously, which is starting today, as this goes out on a Friday, the season 5 of Welcome to Wrexham, episodes 1 and 2 are released today. Jamie, excited to see what the Welcome to Wrexham team come up with this year?
Always. I think we've talked about it in the previous seasons. It's we're always going to be a bit biased, aren't we, because of what the show is about. But if you can look at it from a neutral perspective, it's brilliant TV, and you can see why it's been so successful. They've done a really, really good job. Very, very clever the way they've done it. The first 2 years, Rob and Ryan were very much front and centre to draw the attention to it, but then they've taken a bit of a step back and have become like a side story now, and it's all about Wrexham and the people and the community and the stories of the people. And from what I believe, that these first 2 episodes that are dropping, like you say today, are apparently quite emotional. So given what we've seen, the way they tell stories in the past, I'm sure they'll be compelling watches. I still stand by, for me, that the Arthur Massey, when he was stood on the temporary cop and the drone pulled away from him, I still stand by that. For me, is one of the best things I've ever watched on a TV program. It was just perfectly done. So yeah, really, really looking forward to it, because it'll be great to see. Because obviously, there was so much change last year with the playing staff, and it's always great to get a little bit of behind the scenes kind of sort of insight, isn't it? Whatever that is, whether that's in the dressing room or finding out a bit more about the players or whatever. So yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Well, we will review both episodes next week. Hopefully we'll have Daz back as well, and we'll get his opinion on that one as well. But definitely looking forward to it, and you can tune into it on Disney Plus and Hulu. So, Jamie, we have to talk about the game, because we haven't actually looked at the final game of the season versus Middlesbrough. Both you and I were there. Fantastic day at the Stoke Kairos. Unfortunately, wasn't to be. And we'll try and investigate why that was. But let's look at the lineup first of all. No changes from the loss to Coventry the week before. Any surprise for you from that point of view? Or did you feel that, well, no, because even though we lost to Coventry, we did put up a bit of a fight, and therefore this was probably the best starting 11 that we have coming to the last game of the season?
Yeah, there were no surprises, I think, if I remember rightly, when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago before the game. I talked through my thoughts on the likes of Ward and Dan Scarr being in the team, and it just felt to me like that was going to be the team he was going to go with, subject to injuries. So no, I wasn't surprised really to see this team being picked. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really fussed either way what team he kind of went with, because all I was hopeful for was that we were going to get one of those sort of memorable days like we've become accustomed to over the last few seasons. Charlton, Boreham Wood, Forest Green, Notts County on a slightly different extent, but it felt like another one of those days. It was set up for us. It was kind of in our hands. We were at home. And I just thought, no matter what team he puts out, we're gonna, we'll see a fast start and we'll see a raucous crowd. And yeah, didn't happen.
Well, the Stoke Kairos was an absolute sea of red, with supporters from both clubs gave their all, knowing so much was at stake. However, it was Wrexham supporters who were silenced, as in the 4th minute, Callum Britton's cross was turned into the net by Conway from close range. So a couple of things here, Jamie. First of all, Thomason absolutely beaten, stone cold on that wing by Middlesbrough. And then the cross came in, and I thought, oh, yeah, Ward's got this. Here it is. But it just seemed to either slip underneath him or slip away from him, or Conway got in there first. I mean, what was your feelings on how culpable Ward was for the goal?
I think to be fair, you've just kind of highlighted the two main elements of that goal. I mean, first and foremost, to give it away after 4 minutes was like a real kick in the nuts, because any kind of atmosphere that was building was just zapped because of that goal. It was, it was the start that we kind of all hoped we would get from Wrexham. Would be a fast start and hopefully an early goal. And for Middlesbrough to get it was difficult, but I suppose you have to give some credit to Wrexham for picking themselves up after that goal. But yeah, the goal itself, you've just picked out the two main sort of talking points around that goal. One of which Thomason, and I think given the contribution he's made this season, you cannot criticise him. At the end of the day, you have to remember he's playing in a position that's not his own. He's done a very amicable job there for us, and he should be commended for it. But I think what that move showed you, and something which Middlesbrough obviously focused and targeted throughout the game, was our wing backs, and it just highlighted what we know, which is this summer we have to address that part of the side, both sides, both wing back positions, because for a team that plays the system that we do, whatever slight variation of it we play, the wing backs are integral. And as we've said, or as I've said a million times, your wing backs have to play well, I think, for us to play well because of the way we play. So yeah, absolutely no real criticism to Thomason, but yeah, he was just completely in the cold. Nowhere near close enough to stop the cross coming in. And to be honest with you, as much as we've had the Ward Arthur conversation a few times in the last few weeks, and I don't think it's fair to just go in 2-footed, but it was poor. It was poor goalkeeping, and you can't defend it. It's pointless saying, "Oh, well, Arthur would have done better. Arthur would have done this," because we'll never know. No. Bottom line is that Danny Ward was selected to be the goalkeeper for that game, and he has got to deal with that. Whether I tried to watch it a few times and I couldn't quite work out whether he kind of maybe half pulls out of it because he can see the Tommy Conway coming onto it, whether it's just a complete, he's just called at the beginning of the game and he misjudges it. I don't know, but either way, he has got to be smothering that and holding on to that and completely stopping that ball from, close to his chest, and that's it. Poor goalkeeping and a terrible start to the game, to be fair.
I mean, as you already said, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But do you think that putting Ward in for the last 4 games, even though he had 2 clean sheets, didn't really cover himself in glory in the Coventry game and didn't really cover himself in glory in this game, do you think it was a mistake, honestly?
It's very easy for me. It's very easy for anybody, isn't it, to say yes, yeah, it was a mistake, because fundamentally we ended up missing out on the playoffs. And he was brought in for the crucial run-in. And like you say, if you take the Stoke and Oxford games out of it where we kept clean sheets, and I know there was quite a few people obviously jumping on that as being, look, he's come in and he kept 2 clean sheets. But you have to look at the games in full context, because to be fair, both Oxford and Stoke could have played the game together and they probably wouldn't have scored. So, like you say, then as soon as you then get to Coventry, questionable, and then again in this, it's too easy for me to just say yes, it was a mistake. But I think all I would say is I'd repeat what I said when we had this conversation a few weeks ago when Parky made this decision, which is I personally think it was harsh on Arthur to drop him in the first place. Yes, he'd made some mistakes, but I think if you look over the course of the season, and he's played the bulk of the season, he made far more saves than he did make mistakes. And I used the word at the time when we talked about it, and I'll repeat it now. For me, it's quite damning. I think the fact that Parky has chose to go with Danny Ward and drop Arthur for the last 4 games, there's no other way of putting it. He dropped him. And the fact that obviously Arthur is going into the final year of his deal, and there's no talk, although there's nothing being said about a new deal. I think a goalkeeper, a new number 1, must be on the top of the priority list, because no disrespect, but I don't think Danny Ward has done enough in the games he's played at the start and at the end of the season. And I know it's difficult because he obviously was injured for a huge part of it. But in the games he's played at the start and the end of the season, yes, he's done some good things, but he's also done some questionable things. And I think I'd be surprised if Parky's thought process is to go into the next season with Danny Ward as his number 1. be fascinating to see what happens with Arthur, because I think he'll be, I think he'll feel a little hard done by, to be honest. I really do. And I would be quite surprised if he signs a new deal. I'd be quite surprised, which is such a shame, because I wouldn't want him to leave, because I do believe he is a top goalkeeper in the making. And I would be genuinely shocked if we let him, if we don't believe that and we let him go.
Well, only Watford have claimed more points from losing positions than Wrexham in the Championship this season. And it was Wrexham who responded well to that early setback. They made it 1-1 before the half-hour mark in an absolute stunning style after Smith was fouled on the edge of the box. Wyndham guided the free kick beyond Sol Bryn from around 25 yards out. Jamie, Danny, who sits next to us, he called it. He said, "Oh, this is going in." And I went, "Oh, come on. We haven't scored from a free kick in 2.5 years." And he said, No, this is going in. I mean, you had the perfect position because you were sitting much further down in Y8, I think, weren't you? So you were side on from it. What a superb free kick.
Yeah, I was literally in line with the 18-yard box, so the edge of the 18-yard box. So literally, like you said, I had a perfect side-on view, and I filmed it on my phone, which I don't normally do, but I had a feeling as well. I just had the feeling. It was a beautiful free kick, and like you say, the first time we scored a direct free kick for 2.5 years or whatever, you have to ask yourself the question: why the hell haven't we scored more when he can hit the ball like that?
Yeah.
It was absolutely perfect. There was. I know when we spoke about the Coventry free kick that we conceded a couple of weeks ago, we talked at length about whether the Wall could have and should have probably done better. Danny Ward probably could and should have done better. I don't think you can criticise the Wall, the defence, the goalkeeper, or anything. If you look, the positioning was all good. The Wall jumps. It was just a perfectly executed free kick, and a brilliant way to obviously get us back in the game after a poor start.
Well, it got even better before the break as Smith darted in front of Middlesbrough captain Dale Fry to head Issa Kabore's cross into the net, which was just fantastic, Jamie. I mean, again, we criticise Issa Kabore, and it'd be interesting to see whether we do buy him in the summer. Again, we'll talk about that in a few weeks' time. But he was superb down that wing for this one, whipped it in, and Smith was nowhere near it, and then just suddenly makes the dart, pops his head right in front, and just bullet heads it straight into the goal for 2-1. What a fantastic goal by Smith.
It was a brilliant goal, and I think another goal really, which kind of a little bit like I said a minute ago with Thomason, and like a good visual representation of kind of the weakness of us, of that side of the game. This was another great visual representation of two things really. One, which is Kabore's attacking credentials are far better than his defensive credentials. When he's on song going forward, he is a machine. He's quick, he's fast, and he can cross the ball. He hasn't done it consistently enough. But this one was, a brilliant, powerful run and a brilliant cross, into the near post. And the second element is Sam Smith's kind of. It was a great example of, or a great end in the end to the season for Sam Smith to kind of show us he is a championship player. I think if we're all being honest, we probably all questioned whether whether he could be a championship player, and we probably all thought at the start of the season that given we'd signed Hardy and we'd signed Broadhead and we'd signed Windass, I know they're not out and out strikers, but I think we probably all thought that Sam Smith would be very low down the pecking order and probably wouldn't get a lot of game time. Obviously Hardy didn't work out. Moore's had his fair share of injuries, so Sam Smith's had probably more game time than he thought and we thought he was going to get. But you know what? Credit to him, because he has done a phenomenal job. That's not to say that I don't think that a striker is something that should be on the shopping list in the summer, but I think it's been a great positive for us that Sam Smith has shown that he is capable of being a championship striker. That was a phenomenal goal. It was a brilliant run and a fantastic goal. Fantastic finish, and to be fair, once we got 2-1 up, I thought, right, we we're on here now, because it felt like it felt like the pendulum had swung. So at that point, it was happy days. But yeah.
And in the past, you're absolutely right. We've normally kicked on from here, and we were in the lead. We were in sixth. Hull were losing. Derby County, although they were winning, didn't matter because we were out of reach. But our lead only lasted 90 seconds. Strelec turned Matt Targett's cross beyond Danny Ward's just 2 minutes after Wrexham had taken the lead. I mean, this for me was a perfect example of where I think Wrexham's main problem has been this season. The defending on this was so poor. And again, we just couldn't, this was the time where we needed to stand firm because we just taken the lead. We needed to bed in and we just shut off. Yes, it was a great cross, but you can't give this guy that much space. He was on his own in the middle of the box, no defense near him, and he pretty much had a straight tap in. This is so poor by the defense, wasn't it?
Yeah, terrible. I mean, this was the killer. This was the conceding the goal, not only before half time, but so quickly after taking the lead. I think that was the killer in the game, because I think it just sucked the life out of everything. It was a poor goal. Like you say, it was a poor goal. Give a bit of credit from the attacking perspective. It was a good ball into the box, but like you've summarised it perfectly. For all the praise that we've heaped on Dom Hine in particular, Callum Doyle, obviously Dan Scarr since he's been in the team, Max when he's been in the team. We've got some quality defenders there. They are quality players, but we've conceded far too many goals this season. Far too many goals, and I think fundamentally, when you look at it with a level head, you think to yourself, well, you can't concede as many goals as we have and expect to get playoffs or promotion or whatever, and that we can't be conceding that type of goal at all. It's too easy. If someone scores a goal like Josh Windash's free kick or something like that, you tip your hat off to it, but you can't be giving away simple goals or the 2 goals we conceded in that game. You can't be giving that type of goal away.
They were gifts, really. They didn't really. They didn't have to really hard work for them. They weren't out and out ballers. They were gifts.
Not if you've got aspirations of being at the top end of the league. You can't afford to give goals like that away as frequently as we do, because we like I say, we've given away an awful lot of goals this season. And if you look back at a lot of them are that kind of goal where it's just silly and should be stamped out, really. So poor time to concede and a poor goal to concede.
Well, 2-2 at half time, and I was thinking, well, second half now we'll come out and we will absolutely throw everything at Middlesbrough, and something's got to give. But the positive and negative outcomes of the results elsewhere just continue to filter through to the 10,716 strong crowd in North Wales. Leo Castledine and Luke Ayling both came close to restoring the away side's lead before Wrexham, who we knew we needed to find that third goal, were pushing for a winner. We threw everybody on at the end, even Davis Keeler-Dunn, who the lesser spotted Davis Keeler-Dunn, who we very rarely see. The big one for me, Jamie, and this is when I turned to Dave and I said, I think this was about 6 minutes before the end. When this happened, I just went, that's it, it's gone. Nathan Broadhead broke free, and I thought Nathan Broadhead played really well. For the first time in a while, I think he played exceptionally well coming on. He broke free, teeing up Windass, and then Windass, I thought, this is in, and he hits it, and it's high, wide, and handsome. I mean, when that happened, Jamie, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm thinking, that it's not going to be our day.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. I think fair point to mention that Broadhead did play well when he came on. That's the challenge for him now going forward, isn't it? He's got to find that level of consistency to make sure that he's picked in the team week in, week out, because he is, and it's nothing to do with the price tag. It's to do with his ability. We know what his ability is, and he has the ability that he should be playing week in, week out in a championship, top championship side. So there's the challenge for him, and he showed us again. We've seen flashes of it this season, but not often enough. But yes, he did play very well. Yeah, I agree. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't even really just the second half. I kind of had the feeling all the way through the game where I felt we could score, and I felt that we could get another goal. If you isolate just the second half, I did feel that we could score. But if I'm being brutally honest, I also felt that we were going to concede again. I was so nervous every time they were attacking us. I just felt we were going to concede a goal because we looked so ragged. And given the 2 goals we'd already conceded, I was really fearful of conceding. But then you're thinking, oh, can we? But yeah, you're right. When that ball, when that ball falls to Windass, and you see kind of how far out he is, and you think of all the people in our team you'd want to be on the end of that, it would be Josh
thought he was
Windass.
in. I honestly thought he was in.
And the fact that he, like you say, he as soon as it goes over, I agree. I was probably feeling the same thing of it's just not going to happen. And then obviously by this point we'd got wind of that ex-Chester shithouse had scored a second goal for Hull, and they were 2-1 up. So yeah, the penny kind of dropped. I think as the half went on, it felt like it just wasn't, that optimism at the beginning of the day where I thought it's going to be one of those days again. It was just starting to disappear a little bit. But that was a cruel moment. That was, to be fair, when Windass hit that ball over. Because if I say anyone in our team you'd put on the end of that, it'd be him.
Well, we did chuck so many forwards on. We went to 4 at the back, and then I think at one point we went to 3 at the back, where we absolutely lumped loads of people on, but just wasn't enough. 2-2 in the end. Agony us falling short, particularly with obviously Hull winning. They pipped us, got that 6th spot. We ended up in 7th. So let's preface this with 7th best league position in our 162-year history. Everybody expected us to struggle. Lots of Wrexham fans just didn't want to get relegated. I had my 3 on the wish list, which was don't get relegated, best team in Wales, make the playoffs. 1 and 2 boxes ticked easily, and we were so close with 3. Lots of people have come out of the woodwork now because, like you said earlier, everybody hates us, saying, oh, well, Wrexham had it in their hands. They were 6th. They've spent 30 million. This is a massive disappointment. Parky shows his real form. He's just not up to it. Is that fair? Is that fair, do you think, to level things like that?
No, it was just a situation that gave all the haters, and unfortunately there are lots of them now, it gave them all ammunition to jump on the bandwagon. And what's really funny is when you've got Stoke fans and QPR fans and Preston fans giving it the big one, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you're like furniture in the middle of the Championship, and I've been for the last however many seasons. Look, I went to the game and I was hopeful and confident we were going to do it. I predicted a win last week. I was confident we were going to get a win. But you know what? When the game ended and I realised as well the other results, and I realised we'd missed out, I genuinely wasn't bothered. And honestly, God's honest truth, I genuinely wasn't bothered, because the only reason why I was frustrated in recent weeks leading up to the final games of the season, the Birmingham performance, for example, or I'm trying to think of another bad, West Brom away where we concede 2 goals, Watford, things like that. The only reason that I was frustrated as the season went on was because we were so damn close. We'd given ourselves a chance. And I think, given that we'd given ourselves such a good chance, and as I said a few times throughout this season, I'm not sure the Championship will be as close as this again for a while, because it typically isn't like this. I just felt it was a huge opportunity, and I thought we would have really gone for it going back to January transfer window, etc., etc. But that's all it was, is a frustration and a disappointment because we'd given ourselves such a good chance. But if you take all that away, what a season.
Oh,
What
we've
a
we've
season.
exceeded expectations in my
how
belief.
how you can not be anything other than overjoyed at the season is beyond me, And this is nothing to do with happy clapping or remember where we were 5 years ago. Because I've said before, I don't buy into that now. I'll formulate an opinion and give an opinion of the team and the performance based on what we have today. It's pointless comparing what we have today with what we had 4 years ago in the International League, because it's different gravy.
Totally.
All this thing about the a lot of the haters saying, "Oh, you spent 30 million, blah 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 blah." But what the reality is that 30 million spend, yes, it was a large spend, but to be honest with you, it was only really one building block in us building a championship squad, because we've escalated through the league so damn quickly over the last few years. That investment was just the first block in building. If you look at the squad values of Leicester, Southampton, Coventry, Sheffield United, and Ipswich, and go on, their squad values are hundreds of millions of pounds. So,
and this is what I think people have to realise. There's a lot of teams, as you earlier said, the Stokes, the Prestons, these have been in the championships for years. They are very, very established sides. They have built up their squads over years, as you say, increasing the value each time. We've come in from the off, and we've taken the majority of them on at their own game and beaten them and come seventh. And I know people are saying, because we've heard it. Oh, I watch Wrexham; they're the worst team I've ever seen. I can't buy that. You can't be the worst team you've ever seen and come seventh. It's not possible. No. It's not possible. You can't fluke coming seventh.
For me as well, and I think no, you're right. You can't fluke coming seventh. I think you can have the debate about the tactics that Parker uses all you want, and I stand by what I've said in the past, and I will always say the same thing. A lot of the time, I don't enjoy watching the way we play football, but would I rather take a scruffy 1-0 win over a tiki-taka 3-3 draw? Of course I would. So I will take success over performance all day long, but you can't question the methods because of the success that's been achieved. For me, this season, the best way to kind of summarise this season, and following on a little bit from what you just said there, there are teams that we have, established championship teams that we have gone toe-to-toe with and beaten this season. We finished higher than a lot of established championship teams this season. But for me, apart from the obvious thing that it's our highest ever position in the club's history, apart from the fact that we've not just survived in the championship, which we all wanted that was all we were bothered about, was surviving in the championship. We literally, up until the last kick of the last game of the season, we were on the verge of getting in the playoffs. If it was next season, we'd be in the playoffs, because obviously it goes down to 8th. But I think as well, when you do have to remember how big of an achievement it is as well, is if you go back to the start of the season and those first few games of the season, we had a brand new squad. It wasn't just a brand new team, it was a brand new squad.
Yep.
All these players coming together for the first time, learning about the football club, learning about Parky and the coaches and the way that he wants to do things. And we had some tough performances in the beginning of the season. We drew Southampton on the first game of the season, which was unlucky, really, when you look back at it. But then we played West Brom at home, and we all said, Jesus Christ, if that's the level we've got to try and get to, we're a long way off it. And look how it all turned out in the end. So to start off the beginning of the season with all the new elements that we had, and get them to all merge together and drive forward to get to a position where you've given yourself a chance to have a go at the playoffs in your first season, for me, is a absolutely monumental achievement. And that's why I wasn't bothered. I'm more than happy to stay in the championship. And the thing as well for me is because I'm quite realistic and quite reasonably good understanding of football. And you and I have talked about this. we could be having this conversation in 5 years' time where we're still in the Championship in 5 years' time. That might be the case, because it's not a given that just because we were that close to the playoffs this season that next year we'll be able to go again. It might not work that way, because you look at the teams that are staying down, you look at the teams that are coming down, and you think to yourself, do you know what I mean? You're going to start the season, there's probably 10, 11, 12 teams that you could reel off at the start, which you'd all say have got a good chance at potentially getting automatics. I'm sure we'll be up there, because I'm sure they'll invest again in the summer. But yeah, you've got to be happy. You've got to be proud. Yes, disappointed, but only because we gave ourselves a chance that we probably shouldn't have even had. But yeah, absolutely proud as punch, to be fair.
Now on the Emo Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham memberships and season tickets can now be renewed, and I know Jamie loves to talk about Wrexham memberships. Season ticket holders can now renew their tickets with prices frozen at last year's standard price for early renewals. Interesting wording, frozen at last year's standard price, not the early bird price. So actually there is an increase. That's gone a little bit under the radar, if you ask me, but I'll ask James' opinion on it in a minute. Any support renewing before Tuesday, 30th of June will benefit from this early price. The full renewal window will remain open until Sunday, July the 12th. Renewals after June the 30th will be at the new 25-26 standard price. All season tickets will be issued digitally. For 26-27, should supporters require a physical season ticket for accessibility purposes, they have to email the ticket office. Membership packages automatically will be standard membership packages for season ticket holders, and all the season ticket holders can upgrade to red or gold packages if they want. By the sounds of it, all the prices for the packages have been frozen, so they're exactly the same, although there will be some exclusive membership merchandise that will only be available to Red Dragon members and limited edition products for Gold Dragon members. Again, I'll talk to Jamie about that in a second. But the big one, certainly for Jamie, is no new season tickets will be available for the 26-27 season, and any unclaimed season tickets will be returned for the match day ticket ballot of the upcoming season. So no season tickets next season. However, Wrexham are pleased to announce that they've introduced a season ticket waiting list for 27-28, which is now open for deposits. You pay £100 now, and if you get offered a season ticket for 27-28, and if you take it, that £100 will come off the price. If you don't take it, you can either choose to go back on the waiting list and wait for another season ticket, or you will get 50% of that deposit back. They've also announced a season ticket amnesty following research and feedback gathered by the Fan Advisory Board and other support groups. The club has identified that a number of season tickets are currently being used by individuals who are not named ticket holders. This may be due to a range of circumstances, including personal situations or cases where the original holder is no longer able to use the ticket. In light of this, the club will introduce a season ticket amnesty during the upcoming off-season, providing supporters with the opportunity to update the registered name associated with the season ticket. So, Jamie, season ticket renewals, first of all, and this is where you have to be careful, right? Because for my season ticket, if I renew it today, right now, it's £475. Now, that was the full price last season. The early bird price was £436. So there has been an increase of about £40. However, if you don't do it in this window, you wait until the end of the window, my season ticket would then be £519. Again, about a £40 increase on that initial one. That bit first, it's probably gone up by, I don't know, about 10%, maybe 20%. Reasonable, do you think, for Championship football? I mean, if you look at the prices of the other Championship clubs, it seems fairly reasonable.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the wording of the communication was funny, because I read it and then I've seen all the kind of the fallout from it, and I think to myself, if only we had a communications director. Oh, hang on, we have got one. It just needed to be transparent. Look, it's great value. It's great value for Championship football. It's reasonably priced, but it didn't need it didn't need to be done that way. Just come out and say, look, there is a small increase this year. the price is, the early bird price this year is this, and then the standard price after the early bird window is this. And I don't think anybody would have questioned it, because, like you say, the price last year, the price this year for Championship football is great value. It's just again, it's another one of those little examples, and for all the good that is done by the football club, there's occasionally just one of these things that happen, which is a bit of a own goal, and this is another one. It was just unnecessary. But yeah, for me, I think it's great. It's great value. I think it's good value. When you consider, if you break down the individual price over the course of the season, it's what, 20 quid, is it, something like that ish for a ticket, which you can't moan at that.
Membership packages, which of course we all need, because you can't apply for a ticket without memberships. You get standard, red, and gold memberships. You've been quite scathing about the fact is they've continued to offer membership packages right to the end of the season. And let's be honest, the gold package that I got a leatherette wallet and a key ring, which was about 25p from Temu. They're saying on the press release that there will be exclusive membership merchandise that will be available to Red Dragon members and limited edition products for Gold Dragon members. They really need to up their game on this, don't they, really, and offer much better value for money. And also probably think about how many members are actually letting in and what you actually get for your membership.
Well, it also said enhanced welcome packs with improved gifts to give a stronger connection to your club. So I'm looking forward to whatever that is. Yeah, look, I think, as you say, I've been very vocal about my opinion on the membership scheme. I don't really, I don't like the way that they do it. I don't like the fact that it's a free for all. I don't like the fact that they sell them all the time. I would love to know the numbers. How many members have we got? How many members have we got in the UK? How many worldwide members have we got? I'd just be fascinated to see the numbers. But, look, I mean, the proof will be in the pudding with regards to the enhancements that they're making to it this year. Last year, categorically, the issues that I had with the £50 gold membership last year was one, like you just said, that the welcome gifts or the loyalty gifts were shockingly shit. A little crap wallet and a terrible keyring. The biggest issue last year with the membership was the fact that they weren't transparent with at the start of the season in saying that basically it was a very expensive raffle ticket for match day tickets, i.e. it was going to be the ballot, which is cool. That's the method they've chosen to use. You can argue and you can disagree with it as much as you want. Unfortunately, until that cop's built, you're never going to please everybody. You're going to get some that'll prefer fastest finger first. You're going to get some that'll prefer ballot. I think I was successful 4 times throughout the season in the ballot. And that's better than I know some other people, but then I know other people again who got more or less got one every game. But it's the fact that they didn't tell you that's what was happening when they advertised last year. That being said, the one thing I would say about the memberships, which is going to lead into your next question you're going to ask me. So go on, ask me the question.
So season ticket waiting list. Finally, although they've said no season tickets this season, not surprised by that at all, seeing as the cop is still looking like a Meccano set. But they finally opened it up for everybody to put their name down for season tickets for the season afterwards. And it is based on a priority system with regards to how long you have been a member for. So if you've been you hold a membership for 4 seasons, you'd be at the top of the list. 3 seasons, 2 seasons, 1 season, and then brand new members going down from that point of view. So if you have been a member for the last 4 seasons, then and you put in your request for season tickets, there is a high chance that you would be at the top of the list and get offered. This is good. This finally moves us into a position now, doesn't it, where they are going to put season tickets on sale. We don't know how many, but this confirms they are definitely going to put some on sale for once the new COP is open with those extra seats, and that gives people a chance to finally get some season tickets that they've been craving for so long.
Yes, so I agree with you. I think, to be fair, this has been really well done, really well thought out, and kind of what I was alluding to a minute ago regarding the memberships was, I think it's quite a it's the correct thing to have done, that they have acknowledged the loyalty of members who've had membership since the membership scheme was available, i.e. 4 years ago. Because that was always a little bugbear with the membership scheme. And I think if you go back to the Chelsea game was a good example, where it just didn't sit right that you could literally buy a membership and then enter the ballot and potentially get a ticket when you've literally been a member for a week versus someone who's been a member for 4 years or whatever. So the fact that they've taken into account the people who've been members over the last 4 years or 3 years or 2 years or whatever it is, and then put that into a ranking system, I think is absolutely correct. It's great news that they're forward thinking from the point of view of looking at saying, well, once this COP's built, we will be able to offer more season tickets. My gut feeling is, and I wonder whether a few people might get caught out with this, but my gut feeling is I'm not sure there will be many new season tickets available in the COP, because I think what will happen is, I think obviously they're going to honour what they said a few years ago, which is existing season ticket holders will get first refusal to move into the COP. I think quite a few people will move into the COP, and then I think this waiting list that is now being put into play, what people will get offered will be other parts of the ground.
Yeah,
that's what I think will happen.
Yeah,
and then it'll be interesting to see then whether you take it or not. I also like and agree with the idea that they've put in a fee to go on the waiting list, because with the greatest respect, that will weed out anybody who would just put their name down for the sake of it. I think if it was just a case of put your name down on this waiting list, it would have been a free for all. So the fact that you've had to, and look, I get it's a lot of money. I've put myself on the waiting list, and I could do without it at the moment. I could do without spending 100 quid for nothing at the moment, but I've done it. So I get there are people who it's a struggle, or it's not a great thing for. But I understand the logic behind why they've done it. So I agree with that as well. So everything they said about it is spot on. The only sort of question that I had, really, because again they've done a really good job with like the FAQs and stuff like that, but the only question that I came out of it with, which I didn't think had been answered, which is I've heard a few people ask, which is there going to be any kind of be careful how I word this because I don't want it to sound like discriminatory, but are they going to do anything to like localize it? So is it just going to be like, because with the great respect, you could have somebody in North America who's been a member for 4 years and has now gone on the waiting list, paid £100, might get offered a season. Are they going to? Is it going to be regardless of where the people are based, or is it going to be? Are they going to look at it from a localized point of view? I'm not saying that you shouldn't give a season ticket to an overseas fan at all. I'm just calling out that was the only question I came away thinking. That's one thing that hasn't been answered.
Because most clubs do, don't they? They do give a certain percentage to people who are within the postcodes, to people within the region, and then there's a percentage then for everybody else, kind of thing. So I can understand why that's a question.
But you and I both know that if we get to a situation in 12 months' time where once the COP's ready to be opened and people are offered a move, and then so many move, and then I don't know, let's say 2,000 more season tickets are made available. You and I both know shit's gonna hit the fan if it becomes apparent that 500 of them have gone to people who have in America or Australia and have just bought one because they can, but realistically are probably only going to come to 3 or 4 games a season. Now look, if there's
questions would be asked, wouldn't they? If the ground apparently is sold out, but there are rafts of empty seats, questions can be asked.
Most of the overseas fans that we know, even if they did buy one, they're not going to let the seat be empty, are they? They would put it on the exchange or whatever. So it was just that was the only question I came away from it, because everything had been thought out really, really well. It had all been, like I say, the FAQs were all really good. When I read it, and I read it a couple of times, so obviously it's very relevant to me. I read it a couple of times, and that was the only question I had afterwards, which is that's going to be something that's asked, because I know people do ask the question about, tickets for. I mean, Christ, you and I on that Middlesbrough game. I mean, that was comical. You went into town to get I was going to say a haircut, but you've not really got any hair. But you went to get a haircut, and we literally stood. I was sat in that barber's while you were getting your haircut, and I could hear 3 or 4 people, lads outside, moaning about the fact, you can't get a ticket for the Wrexham game. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's just never ending. So yeah, that cop can't come soon enough. But no, I think, to be fair, I think the waiting list, the way they've gone about it, I think is spot on.
And then obviously the season ticket amnesty, which obviously has been talked about before, particularly if there are members who have sadly passed away and the season ticket has been used by other family members. This amnesty is great because finally, yes, they will have to provide evidence, but they can finally get that ticket, have the name changed to their name, and then keep that ticket within the family, that's great news.
Common sense, just common sense. That was really something. Again, when I was talking before about own goals, that was another example of an own goal by the football club when this all kicked off. Was it earlier this season or was it last season? I can't remember.
This season. It was this season.
Yeah, when it all kicked off. Look, they just apply some common sense to it. I think as long as there's there's evidence that can be supplied that, I now use this ticket because it was my granddad's and he's now passed away. He wanted me to have it. I'm paying for it. In those examples, I mean, I think, as long as the season ticket isn't being just given to Fred down the road, then fair enough. But yeah, this was just, again, I'm glad they've listened and put something in place for this to happen now. Yeah, common sense.
Wrexham have confirmed the retained release list for Wrexham AFC women ahead of the 26-27 season. Jamie, some massive surprises on this one for me. I mean, we'd already said that couple of weeks ago about Karen Allen, Chloe Ankers, and Mary Gibbard retiring or not carrying on with their careers. Already under contract, Katie Barker, Jodie Bartle, and Maria Francis Jones and Lily Jones. So there's 4 players already still under contract. Following players have been offered new deals for the next season. That's Nat Clark, Liz Craven, Phoebe Davis, Olivia Fuller, Sarah Harvey, Faye Knox, Maz Mahmood, Evie Sadler, Josie Smith, and Ava Suckley. Continuing, obviously, from their injuries at the moment, Evie Holt and Michaela Wildgoose, so they will stay under contract until they're fully recovered. But this is the released list, and there are some really surprising names on this one. Neve Adams and Nelia Burke, 2 of the more younger players. Abby Idenden. I'm sad to see her go, although I'm not sad to see her name go because I don't have to keep falling over that. And then some real surprises. Cara Jones, Erin Lovett, Hannah Snape, who's only been with us for the 1 season. And then the big one for me, Rosie Hughes, finally hanging up her Wrexham boots. Quite a surprise on me for this one. I mean, I think Neve and Leah have been fantastic young players. Not surprised with Abby. She's had that kind of bad injury and she's never really shook it off. And I think she doesn't quite fit in with Jenny Sugarman's current way of playing. She's not kind of the player that I feel that Jenny needs right now. Erin Lovett, you could kind of see that in the last game of the season where she's definitely off pace compared to Michaela Wildgoose, for example. So she was always going to be a bench player. But Cara Jones and Hannah Snape and Rosie Hughes, those are 3 big shocks for me. I mean, what are your thoughts on those players who got released?
Yeah, like you said, I think there was some big shocks on there. Unfortunately, though, it's similar to the men's team, isn't it? It's a consequence of success. We've seen it over the last few years with the men's team where players that have literally given everything for the badge and contributed massively to the success. But unfortunately, I was going to say the project. That's a really wanky thing to say. Unfortunately, we've moved kind of past. if you think of people like Mullin and Lee, who are the obvious ones on the men's side, we've kind of moved past their ability. And I think that's the realms we're in now in on the women's side of things. We know that they're ambitious on the women's side to move it forward. They've obviously made a massive step last season by winning the league and qualifying for the Champions League. But I think, the plan, I'm sure the plan is to dominate. That's the next step. We've won it now. The next step is to dominate the league and win it consistently and win everything consistently for a number of seasons. And I'm sure then another target is to try and, progress further in the Champions League than any other Welsh side has done before. And I think, that sadly, it's just that's the reality, unfortunately. And particularly, I suppose the other thing as well is we have to take into account as well is they've been released, but is there any mutual element to any of them? You know what I mean? Because they're semi-pros, so they're not full-time pros. Has there maybe been some conversations behind the scenes with one or two where they said, do you know what, I financially or family life or whatever, I'm going to need to do something else. I don't know, but yes, you're right. It was a couple of shocks on there. The Rosie, isn't it, is the one that jumped out. Because she has, when I spoke before about the contribution, she's contributed more than most in this, the successes of the last few seasons. And it is sad, when players have to move on.
It's always the worst part, isn't it? I remember when Carl Conley left. I remember when Psycho left. I remember when Steve Watkin left. I remember when Andy Morrell left. I remember when Lee Trundle left. And it sort of it grabs your kind of heartstrings and goes, these are players who you absolutely, when you put on the shirt, it was just pure joy watching their skill and their talent and watching you score goals and do incredible things with your badge on. And when you see them leaving or walking away or retiring, it tugs on your heartstrings so much, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. Because football's an emotional game. It's an emotional game. It's emotional for the players and any football fan, young, old, new or legacy fan of football, or I think most sports are the same, but certainly with football, because we can vouch for it. It's an emotional thing to follow. It's it's very difficult when you go on a Saturday afternoon, or if Sky have got involved, a Friday evening. It's very,
or Sunday lunchtime, or a Monday evening, or a Wednesday afternoon, or a 3 minutes past midnight on a Tuesday, whatever it may be.
It's very difficult to go to a game, watch the game, and if the game's gone badly, just walk away and it not affect you. And most football fans will say the same thing. There's very few people, I think, that will be able to walk away from a poor performance of their team and it not bother them. I know you said it before. Depending on what's happened, how the performance, bad the performance was, who it was against, it carries with you for days or weeks in some cases, and that's what happens. It's an emotional sport, and it gets to you, and it's the same with the players. You get emotionally attached to these players, and this is why, again, going back to the men's for reference, but this is why seeing the likes of Mullin and Lee in particular, those two in particular, kind of pitter into the abyss is painful. It's painful for us as fans because we got so emotionally connected to them. And that'll happen with some of these players that we've got now. That was something that, I'm hoping next year will improve, because obviously a lot of the players will still be there. So we'll start to get more of an attachment with them. I think that was one of the things which took a long time as the season went on this year on the men's side was the fact that because we had so many new faces, we'd lost that connection with them. But you get emotionally connected to players, and it's the same on the women's side. Rosie had fans. Everybody knew Rosie. Everyone knew what it meant to her, I believe she put something on her Instagram after it was announced. I didn't see it myself, but I believe she put something on there. And from what I heard people say, it didn't sound like there was any sour grapes or anything. So
No, she's been doing some TikTok lives as well, and she pretty much said that she's, she didn't want to leave, but she totally understood it. She had nothing but respect for Jenny and the team, and she still wants to play football, and she will always, she will always love Wrexham. She'll always support Wrexham. Talking about sitting in with the ultras and all this kind of stuff, and that just shows the class that she is. She doesn't, it must be really hard for her because she still has it. She still wants to play football, but also understands the game and understands, unfortunately, this is what happens. This is professional football. Your desire isn't enough if you can't physically, have the goods every single week, and it must be so tough. But
I think that's
we'll never forget. We'll never forget what she's done.
I think that's credit to her. If she's got that mentality that she's didn't want to leave, but she understands the reasons for it. That's a very mature attitude to have towards it, isn't it? Because there'll be some that would be probably quite bitter about it. Look, it's sad, it's disappointing, but it happens. And I think what we have to do now is we have to look forward and we have to say, well, I tell you what, it's going to be exciting to see what happens over the summer, because obviously if you think back to this time last year, obviously we were having conversations this time last year where we were like, it feels like a forgotten project, and then obviously everything happened at the last minute. Well, if you look now, the crux of it is now there still, so it's going to be built on. So the fact that they're willing to release the players that they have, obviously you would assume they've got targets in mind or in the pipeline as replacements. And if you can, it'd be fascinating to see what, are we going to be talking about more players on the caliber of Katie Barker, Jodie Bartle? Are we going to be talking about more full-time contracts, full-time players of the greatest respect of a higher level, or are we going to be? So yeah, fascinating to see what will happen. But yes, look, it's sad when players have to move on or have moved on, and just wish them all the best.
And while we were reading from that, it was announced that Gemma Owen will also depart her role as head of women's football operations at Wrexham AFC, bringing to a close her 13-year association with the club. During her time with the club, Gemma played a key role in the development of women's and girls programme, alongside leading the coordination and delivery of football operations across logistics, compliance and organisational planning. Gemma's association with Wrexham began in 2012, when she was originally joined the Racecourse Community Foundation as a football development officer, before moving to the role of joint business development manager. It was during this time that she took the role of head of female football, playing a key role in establishing and developing the women's and girls programme across all age groups, while also acting as club secretary. Gemma was instrumental in the reformation of Wrexham AFC women's team in 2018 and the successful application for an inaugural Adran League's licence 3 years later. As a result, the women's section continued to thrive with increased investment behind the scenes, and Gemma has played an integral part in Wrexham AFC women's securing promotion to the Adran Premier in 2023. And following promotion to the top flight, the club issued semi-professional contracts for the first time, becoming the first club in North Wales to have a semi-professional women's setup. Gemma also served as assistant manager of the under-19s team, who won 3 Gennaro Adran under-19s North titles in 22, 23 and 25, and saw numerous players advance through the junior ranks to play first-team football. She became head of women's football operations, a natural progression from head of female football, as the women's section expanded and developed over the course of her 6 years in the role. She was a pivotal part in the women's section, continuing to grow off the pitch, as Wrexham completed in back-to-back Welsh Cup finals, alongside heading to the US for the very first time on the Rex Coast Tour, and later Asia for the Hong Kong Soccer Sevens. Again, this was quite a shock, because without Gemma, there would be no Wrexham women's football, full stop. In all the time in the wilderness where the club weren't interested and very few people were interested before the setup of the Adran Leagues, it was Gemma who was pushing ahead. It's Gemma who was bringing on young girls from the area. It was Gemma making sure the teams got together and stayed competitive. It was Gemma who then pushed for that Adran, got us into the Adran North. It was all Gemma, and I understand, as we've seen with the men, as the club grows, then certain people's roles grow, expand, or become slightly obsolete, and people have to move on. but we should never forget the massively important role that Gemma has had for Wrexham AFC women.
Yeah, you've just summarised it perfectly. I think the best way to put it is, without her, there would be no women's team. It's not an understatement to say that. I think an awful lot of behind the scenes, unsung, unknown jobs, tasks, and efforts by Gemma over the years. Yeah, this was a shock. It's sad. It's disappointing. A lot of what I said about the players moving on kind of applies. I think the only thing that my feeling on it is, and I deliberately haven't spoken to you about this kind of off pod, and I'm going to be very careful what I say, and I'm not going to kind of ask you anything, because I dare say you probably know more about it than most, because obviously I know your wife knows Gemma, so they've probably spoken. It's not fair of me or anyone to kind of ask the questions. All I would say is I hope it's been done right, is all I'll say. The way you've just summarised it is perfect, in the sense of, as things grow, as things evolve, as things get bigger, and I've seen this in retail business over the years, and myself, where sometimes, unfortunately, positions, like you say, can become obsolete, or they get I fucking hate that word, amalgamated into somebody else's role and becomes non-existent. So I get all that, and it happens. All I hope is that this, Gemma's role coming to an end, I hope, and her leaving the football club, I just hope and pray it's being done the right way. And that's all I'll say about it. I'm not going to say or ask you anymore, because it's not fair. I hope she's left and is happy, or as happy as she can be, with the way she's leaving, and whatever they've done or said to her. Because I would hate the thought that this has been, a bit of a power move, pushing her out because she's now, we've now got the bigger monster who is bigger and better and more experienced, and therefore we don't need you anymore, and therefore we'll just push you to the side. I don't believe that's what's happened. I just hope they've done it right. That's all I'll say.
I just want to put forward my personal thanks for the dedication, hard work. As you rightly say, there are so many things that Gemma did behind the scenes that were never noticed, but without them, the side would not have managed to get anywhere near the heights that it did. And this is all down to Gemma's hard work, dedication. She worked far more than her contracted hours. I know that for a fact. She basically put her whole life on the line to make sure that Wrexham progressed and make sure Wrexham had everything they needed. And she absolutely, and at times she was a bit of a workaholic, but you can't fault that for me, because the dedication is necessary in professional sport if you want to get to the top. And again, all Wrexham's success all stems from the hard work that Gemma's done, and we should never, ever forget that from that point of view. It's important that we don't. Wrexham AFC hosted the Men's Player Awards 25-26 last week, following a historic campaign where the team achieved their highest ever league position, narrowly missed out on a playoff place in the final game of the season, and reached the FA Cup fifth round for the first time in 29 years. We'll have our Golden Potato Awards in a few weeks, so we won't necessarily agree with what the club has said, but PFA Community Champion was Max Cleworth. Bob Clark Academy Player of the Season was David Edwards. And my wife talked about him because when she was at the academy, she knew David really, really well and said he was a fantastic player and a great lad. So that's fantastic from that point of view, hard worker. Players Player of the Season was Callum Doyle. The Steve Edwards goal of the season was the goal of Ollie Rathbone at QPR, which was fantastic. Top goal scorer of the season was Josh Windass. Young Player of the Season was Callum Doyle, and the Player of the Season presented by Wrexham Lager was Josh Windass. Obviously, we're going to do our Golden Potatoes Awards in a few weeks, so don't give away too much what you think. But are you kind of surprised by any of those, or are you kind of thinking, yeah, that's about right? I mean, pretty much Josh and Callum pretty much hoovered everything up.
Yeah, the only one of those main awards I was surprised at was the goal of the season one. Not that I'm saying Ollie Rathbone's goal against QPR wasn't amazing, because it was, but I think how can I say this without sounding disrespectful? I think that's won it. I think because I think the moment and the commentary that surrounded it has kind of stuck in people's minds. It was a fantastic moment. I think arguably moment of the season, arguably. But I think there were a couple of goals, goals in isolation. I think there were a couple better than that. For me, as I said when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, the Matty James against Derby away was the one. Young player of the season, absolutely Callum Doyle. It was never going to be anybody else. Player's player. I wasn't surprised in some ways, but then I was in other ways. I thought maybe someone like George Thomason might have got player's player just purely because of the kind of job he's done for the team. But I can understand why Callum Doyle's got it. And absolutely, Josh Windass player of the season, quite rightly so. Quite rightly so. I think you can't. People were talking about Don Heim. I was saying until a few weeks ago, maybe even Callum Doyle's in there with a shout. You can't give it to a defender when you conceded as many goals as we have this season. You just can't. You can't do it.
No, that's fair enough.
And if you look at Josh Windass's season's numbers, you park all the conversations about his celebration and his attitude, his demeanour and all that jazz, park all that to one side. If you look at his contributions this season, you look at his numbers, his goals and his assists, he has to be player of the season. So, yeah, absolutely no arguments with that whatsoever.
And now, literally, the moment that nobody, apart from the person sitting over here to my right, has been waiting for. No extra time for the chip shop this year, so we throw open the doors for the last time to see who has finally won the.
Are we doing it, are we?
Master Chip Fryer. Yeah, we've done it. Yeah, we're absolutely. Master Chip Fryer of the Year for 2025-26. Let's look at the final table after the season's predictions. First of all, I mean,
I can't believe he got a bullseye on the last game of the season.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Daz did predict 2-2. It was 2-2. He gets a bullseye at the end, which gets him an extra 2 points because you and I both predicted a Wrexham win. So you end the season 97 games, 51 correct, 46 wrong, 9 bullseyes, a total of 60 points. Daz currently is in second, 97 games, 50 correct, 47 wrong, 7 bullseyes, 57 points, 3 points behind you. And then myself, 97 games, 44 right, 53 wrong, 4 bullseyes, 48 points, miles behind Daz. But obviously, there's a column there which you can see which has got dots in because we haven't taken into account our pre-season predictions. Jamie, before I start going through the preseason predictions, well done on getting this far, 3 points in the lead. However, you were 11 points in the lead at one point. Are you concerned that Daz might have pipped you by getting these extra points for the preseason?
Listen, all I'll say is, anyone viewing this episode now, if you want to watch a grown man cry, stay tuned. Because if I don't win this, I am probably going to cry. Right. I'll be so angry if I don't win. Because I mean, the problem, I am nervous. I'll be honest, because the whole league thing just blows my mind. But I am nervous and a little bit disappointed that I lost a lead. I don't think I had an 11-point lead.
You did, yeah. Sure. You definitely had an 11-point lead.
Over Daz.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I think I definitely should still have had a bonus point somewhere along the line for getting that 11-1 prediction for the women earlier in the season.
That's not happening. So good luck with that anyway. Let's look first at the women's league predictions, shall we? So at the very, very beginning of the season, I asked us all for our predictions for who was going to be champions, who was going to be runners up, who was going to get relegated, and where Wrexham would finish in this. And then at Christmas, I offered us all one change. Jamie, you changed and you put Wrexham at the top. Daz put Wrexham as runners-up, and I put Wrexham at the top. Obviously, then there is an opportunity of points. So looking at Jamie's, you predicted Wrexham to become first, and that's absolutely right. That's Wrexham in the right position. That's 2 points. You predicted Swansea to be runners-up. That's not correct because Cardiff were runners-up, as we know, so that's no points. Aberystwyth Town to get relegated. It wasn't. It was Pontypridd to get relegated. But you did predict, obviously, with the change that Wrexham would come first, which is 2 points. So that gives you 4 points to add to your current list. Where Daz is concerned, he predicted Cardiff City to come top. Well, they didn't. They came second. So he gets 1 point for correctly predicting that either Wrexham or Cardiff would be in the top 2, but it's in the wrong place. And the same with the fact that he predicted Wrexham to be in second, so he gets a point for that as well. He predicted Pontypridd United to come last and get relegated, which is correct. But obviously he predicted Wrexham to come second, which is wrong. So he also gets 4 points to add to his total. Now, I absolutely hit the jackpot because I predicted Wrexham to come first, correct.
Fuck off.
Cardiff to come second, which is correct. Pontypridd United to come last and get relegated, which is correct. And Wrexham to come first, which is correct. That gives me 8 points. Plus, because I predicted all 4 of them correct, I get 4 bonus points.
Fuck off. You're making this shit up.
So
no way.
You can go back and look at it.
Fuck your rules. Shove the rules right up your ass. 12 points. Fuck off.
So I get 12 points, which is
This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Honestly. Who wrote these rules? Is it the same people that are looking after the Manchester City fucking thing? Oh, 12 points. You gotta be shitting me. Fucking hell. Here we go.
So now moving to the predictions for the men. Again, I asked Jamie and Daz and myself to predict who's going to be champions, who's going to be runners-up, who's going to be in the playoffs, and who's going to win the playoffs, who's going to be the relegated bottom 3, and where Wrexham would come. At Christmas, I offered them all one change. Jamie put Coventry City at the top. Daz put Sheffield Wednesday at the bottom, and I put Millwall in within the playoffs. The teams in red in the playoffs is who we each predicted to win the playoffs. Yeah, massively successful there, as you can see. Let's look at Jamie's points then, shall we? So obviously, Jamie got 2 points for Coventry City becoming first and being in the right place, which is correct. He predicted Birmingham City to be runners-up. That was incorrect. Sheffield United, Southampton, Leicester City, and Derby County. None of them were in the playoffs, so no point, apart from Southampton, which obviously were in the right place. So that's 2 points for Southampton being in the right place. From a point of view of the bottom, Oxford United in the right place, 2 points. Sheffield Wednesday in the right zone but not in the right place gets a point. And Hull City at the very bottom was nothing. He predicted Wrexham to be in 10th. So obviously that's a no. So total points there for Jamie is 7 points. Daz's points total, he predicted Southampton to come top, which was wrong. Ipswich to come second, which is correct. So in the right place gets 2 points. He predicted Leicester City, Coventry City, Sheffield United, and is that Portsmouth? I can't see. That
where? Sorry, where are you?
Daz's list in the
Leicester, Coventry, Sheffield United, Middlesbrough in the playoffs.
Middlesbrough, that was it. Yeah, so Middlesbrough gets a point for because he's in the playoffs but not in the right position. And then he predicted Preston North End, Charlton Athletic, and Sheffield Wednesday. Well, Sheffield Wednesday is the only one he got correct, which is in the correct place. So that's 2 points for that. And he predicted Wrexham to finish in 11th. So he then finishes on 5 points. And then from my point of view, I predicted Ipswich Town to come top. Well, they didn't. They came second, so I get a point for that. Got nothing for Southampton. I got nothing for the other 4 apart from Millwall. So they were in there, but in the wrong place. And then I got 2 points for Sheffield Wednesday being at the bottom. So that's 4 points in total for that. So you take the existing table and you add the points that we got from the women's side and from the men's side. I got 16 points from the men's and the women's, which means my total is 64.
Fucking bullshit. Fucking bullshit. 64 points.
64 points. Daz gets 9 points from the men's and the women, so he gets 66 points. So Jamie basically just needs to get 6 points or more to win this year's Chip Shop League. And Jamie got, in total, 11 points, giving him 71 points. And the winner of this year's Chip Shop League finally wrestled out of Daz's hands. The winner for this year, harder to beat,
Come
is Jamie.
on!
Congratulations, bruv. A well fought league.
I thought you were going to stitch me up then. I thought you were going to stitch me up.
Even with look, that's how bad I am. Even with 16 points, I still came last. So yeah, it just shows I know absolutely nothing.
Get in. Get me that fucking trophy.
Would you like to make an acceptance speech?
Would I like to make an acceptance speech? Fuck you and fuck Daz.
That's hardly an acceptance speech, is it? You normally thank people.
Okay. In the words of Conor McGregor, I'd like to thank absolutely no one.
Brilliant.
I did it. Me. I'm going to thank anybody.
Wow.
Okay. I did it.
You're not engrossing yourself to people, I have to be honest. Anyway.
Get on the blower to Postman Pat. Get him and his little black and white cat down to Daz's house. Get me that trophy and get it here.
I will deliver it personally. And we will have a video of me delivering it personally. Don't you worry. What was quite funny is that I got Daz to record an acceptance speech and because I didn't even tell him what it was. So Daz has left you a message, and here it is.
So yeah, here we are. Still in Wrexham, and I've just been watching the guys putting in some what looks like the steel work for the actual upper seating there. So it's making shape. I mean, geez, those concrete columns are massive. I know you guys ran on about it before, but what a structure this is going to be. Anyway, I just thought I'd take this opportunity to congratulate Jamie on finally making that breakthrough to winning the league. He tried desperately hard last year, and it was close. So to get over the line, fair play. He held the lead for most of the season, so I can't complain. I think I did okay. Lost my way just before Christmas, but I think my final predictions though did come good. I mean, who's to say that I would have known that I think 4 of my top 6 were in the top 6, so that's pretty good. I think I did really well there. So just not in the right order. That might have made the difference. Who knows? Anyway, congratulations. So I hope it doesn't go to your head too quickly and for too long, because the game is on for next year. And there was some other third guy in the competition as well, wasn't there? Maybe you'll put an effort in next year. But for now, congrats, Jamie. Speak to you later.
Yes, very good. Yeah, well, little did Daz know that. Yes, but congratulations, Jim. Well done.
Come on!
Yes, well done. And the trophy will be winging its way to your house as we speak.
Beautiful.
As soon as I can go down to Cardiff, and because I've got your plate engraved, it's already engraved. Because obviously I've known for 2 weeks, but yes,
brilliant.
So well done.
Get in. Yeah, come
on for next year, and yeah, well done. And there we have it, over for another week, where we've looked back at what was a very, very poignant last game and the last week where we've had some news from players. Next week we will look forward to asking the question, where do Wrexham men need to go from here with regards to where do we need to look to improve at certain positions of the field. Same with the women. Where do we think the women are going to look at? And we'll probably also look back at the season just gone for both Wrexham and Cymru men's and women's, give a review of the year from that point of view. Obviously, as I said earlier, Daz unfortunately couldn't be with us, but he has left a goodbye message. So Daz, thanks very much. See you next week. Bye-bye.
So there we go, another end of the season, and I guess it's the end of the pod. So signing off from the home of Welsh football, the home of Wrexham football, and we're better than in the Turf Pub. So here's to a very successful season, a close run season, and we look forward to going again. And for now, as I enjoy a mighty fine pint of Guinness in the Turf Pub. Iechyd da, and I'll see you next week, hopefully. Cheers.
Daz with a pint of Guinness, who'd have thought that, eh?
What a surprise.
And of course, couldn't have done it without this gentleman tonight. To the right of me, my newly crowned Chip Shop League champion. Thank you very much, Jamie.
Champione, champione, ole, ole, ole. Come on!
I'm never going to hear the last of this.
No, you're not. You are not.
No,
and we're definitely going to get a forfeit sorted for you this time as well.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. Okay, so until next week, come on, Cymru, and come on the town.
Clinton, 1-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5.
Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. It's 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013!
Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee!
Back to back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast.